Amina Lul was sitting on the small balcony of her room in Nakuru Hills, enjoying the evening breeze when her phone rang. The number looked strange, so she almost ignored it. But something in her gut told her to pick up. A calm voice from the bank greeted her and said they were calling about her new mortgage. Amina frowned. "Sorry, what mortgage?" she asked, already confused. The caller continued politely, as if everything was normal. "Ma'am, your first payment is due next month. We just want to confirm you understand the terms." Amina felt her heart beat faster. She told them there must be a mistake. She never applied for any loan. She barely even had savings, and she had never signed anything serious in her life. She tried to laugh it off, thinking it had to be some scam, but then the agent read her full name, her exact ID number, her home address, even the digital signature that was supposedly hers. Amina went completely still. Her fingers trembled around the phone. "That's impossible," she whispered. "I never signed anything." But the agent sounded certain, even apologetic. "Miss Lul, the documents are in your name. Everything matches." Suddenly the evening breeze felt cold. Her stomach sank as fear crawled up her spine. Who had access to her ID? Who would use her name for something this huge? And why? By the time the call ended, her world had shifted. She stood on her balcony staring at nothing, her heart pounding in her ears. Someone had taken her identity and trapped her in a debt that could destroy her life. Amina didn't even remember how she got home. She just knew she ran, down the hill across the dusty road, straight to the small family house where she grew up. Her chest was tight, her hands shaking, her mind screaming the same question over and over. Who did this to me? When she stepped inside, Tobias and Linda were in the living room, relaxed like it was any normal evening. Tobias had his feet on the table, scrolling through his phone. Linda was sipping mango juice, laughing at something on TV. They didn't even notice Amina at first. "Amina, you're back early," Linda said lazily, not looking up. Amina's voice broke before she could hide it. Did you take a mortgage in my name?" Both of them froze for half a second, not in guilt, but in annoyance, like she had interrupted their peace. Tobias sighed loudly and dropped his phone. "Look," he said, shrugging like it was nothing. "Our credit was bad. You're young, responsible, clean." It made sense. Amina stared at him, waiting for the punchline, but he just kept drinking his juice. Linda added casually, "And you never use your credit for anything big anyway. Plus we're family. What is yours is ours." Her legs felt weak. She held the side of the sofa to stay standing. "You used my ID, my signature, my information, without asking me." Tobias rolled his eyes. "Don't be dramatic. It's just paperwork. Just paperwork," Amina repeated, her voice shaking. "It's a $630,000 loan." They exchanged a quick look, not guilty but irritated that she found out. Linda leaned back and said, "We plan to tell you once everything's settled. Stop creating problems. The house is for all of us." Amina felt something inside her crack. They weren't apologizing. They weren't scared. They weren't even ashamed. They acted like she had no right to be angry, like she owed them her entire life. Her throat burned. She whispered, "You betrayed me." Tobias stood up, towering over her. "We didn't betray you. We trusted you to understand." But all Amina understood was that the people she grew up with, the people she trusted the most, had signed away her future without blinking. In that moment, standing in the middle of the living room she once called home, Amina realized something painful and clear. Her siblings never saw her as family. They saw her as an easy target, tool, a name they could use. And now they had used it to destroy her life. Amina walked to her parents' house with hope holding her together. Her heart was already torn from what Tobias and Linda had done, but she kept whispering to herself, "Mama will understand. Baba will help me fix this." She needed comfort, someone to tell her she wasn't crazy, someone to tell her she wasn't alone. But the moment she stepped inside, she knew something was wrong. Her father, Mr. Lul, was sitting on the veranda polishing his shoes. Her mother was in the kitchen slicing vegetables. Both looked up at her with calm, controlled faces, Not surprise, not concern, almost like they were expecting this conversation. Baba, Amina started, her voice trembling. Tobias and Linda used my name for a mortgage. Huge one. I never agreed. I need your help. Her father didn't even pause. He put his shoe brush down and said in a low, firm tone, "Family helps each other. Don't embarrass us by making noise." Amina blinked, confused. Embarrass you? Baba, they committed fraud. My name is on a loan I didn't take. I could lose everything. He waved his hand like she was being childish. You are overreacting. They needed a house. You should be proud they trusted you. A sharp pain hit her chest. She turned to her mother, desperate for one voice of kindness. Mama, please, this is serious. My life. Her mother cut her off with a soft sigh, as if this was all an inconvenience. Amina, you don't even have a husband or children. You don't need credit for anything important. Let them use it. When will you ever need a mortgage? Amina stared at her, stunned. So you think I should just accept this? Her mother didn't look up from the vegetables. You are young. You recover fast. And this is for the family's future. Stop making trouble. Her throat tightened. Her hands went cold. You knew, she whispered. Both of you knew. Her father finally looked at her, not with guilt but with warning. We agreed as a family. Only you were being difficult. Tobias told us you wouldn't understand, and he was right. Don't bring this outside. People will talk. Amina felt her knees weaken. The betrayal wasn't just from her siblings. It was from the two people who raised her, the people who taught her about trust, honesty, respect. Everyone knew. Everyone agreed. Everyone decided her future without her. And she was standing there, heartbroken, realizing the truth. In her own family, she was the only one who didn't matter. Amina barely slept that night. She sat on her bed in the dark, staring at the wall, hoping she'd wake up and realize everything was just a nightmare. But the morning came with something worse. An email from the bank with all the documents attached. Her heart pounded as she opened the files one by one. There it was. Her full name at the top. Her ID number. Her address. Her signature on every single page. The loan amount, $630,000. Payment start date, next month. Monthly amount, something so high it made her breath stop. She scrolled again and again, hoping she was reading wrong, but the truth hit her like a heavy stone. The house was legally in her name. Everything was tied to her. And if she didn't pay, the bank would destroy her credit forever. No loans. No car. No apartment. No future. Amina dropped her phone on the bed and grabbed her head with both hands. Her chest tightened, and her eyes filled without warning. She wasn't just angry anymore. She was terrified. How can they do this to me? She whispered to no one. Her parents didn't care. Her siblings acted like she was the selfish one. And now the bank expected her to carry a debt so big it could swallow her whole life. If she paid, she'd spend decades working just to survive. No savings, no dreams, nothing of her own. Every paycheck would vanish. Her whole youth would disappear into a house she never wanted. If she didn't pay, she'd lose her financial future. No one would trust her again. Every opportunity would close. Either way, she was trapped. She curled into herself on the bed, hugging her pillow tightly as tears soaked through. She cried quietly at first, then harder, her whole body shaking. She felt small, powerless, betrayed by the people who were supposed to protect her. The room felt smaller, like the walls were pressing in, like the weight of $630,000 was already crushing her chest. She looked around her tiny room, the soft yellow curtains, the chipped wooden dresser, the photos of her childhood on the wall. All her life she had believed in family. She had believed she was safe with them. But now, her own family had pushed her into a hole so deep she could barely see a way out. Amina lay there, staring at the ceiling through blurry eyes, realizing something painful. The people she trusted most had put a price on her future, and sold it. Amina woke up the next morning with swollen eyes and a heavy heart, but something inside her had changed. The panic and shaking were still there, but beneath them, there was a strange, quiet strength rising. She didn't scream. She didn't run back to her parents' house. She didn't beg Tobias or Linda to fix anything. Instead, she sat on the edge of her bed, took a deep breath and whispered to herself, "No more crying. No more trusting blindly." She remembered something her university lecturer once told her during a class on financial literacy. Paper is power. What is written can save you or destroy you, depending on how you use it. Those words came back like a spark in the darkness. Amina wiped her tears, grabbed her phone and began scrolling. Every message Tobias ever sent about a surprise, every family group chat hinting about a big plan, every photo of the house they bought, she screenshotted all of it. She dug through old texts, emails, even voice notes where her mother mentioned the new house project. She organized everything into folders. Then she requested all documents from the bank, loan agreements, verification calls, ID photos, everything. She printed some at a small shop and kept the rest in digital form. She moved quietly, secretly, not letting her family know a single thing. She remembered Linda bragging once about handling a call from the bank. That meant she impersonated her. Amina saved that memory like evidence. By afternoon, she packed her bag and took a bus to Lugendo City. She had never been inside a law office before. Her hands were sweating as she sat in the reception area, waiting for the finance lawyer. When Mr. Okoro, a middle-aged lawyer with sharp eyes and a calm voice, began reading through her documents, his expression changed. He looked up at her and said, "Amina, this is not your fault. What they did is fraud, and a very serious kind." Her throat tightened. "So I can fight this?" He nodded. "You don't just have a case, you have a strong case. They forged your signature. They used your identity without consent. And legally, you are the owner of the property." Amina's breath caught in her chest. She had expected fear, more panic, maybe even hopelessness. But instead, a slow fire built inside her, confidence she hadn't felt in days. For the first time since the nightmare began, she felt like she wasn't drowning. She wasn't powerless. She wasn't alone. She wasn't finished. Amina walked out of that office with her head higher, her steps slower, steadier. There was still pain in her heart, but now there was something stronger growing beside it. Plan. Voice. A future she would protect herself. Quietly, calmly, Amina had awakened. The next week felt like Amina was living two lives. On the outside she was quiet, moving through her days like nothing was wrong. But inside she was gathering strength, gathering truth, gathering every piece of evidence that would finally expose what her family had done. With the help of her lawyer, Mr. Okoro, the investigation began. And every new detail cut deeper than the last. The first discovery came from the bank. They provided a copy of the signature used to approve the loan. When Amina saw it, her heart broke in two. It was obviously forged, her name written in Tobias's rushed, uneven handwriting. She had seen that handwriting her whole life on birthday cards and school notes. Now it sat on a $630,000 contract. She closed her eyes, fighting tears. "He really did this," she whispered. The second discovery was even more painful. The bank shared recordings of verification calls. On one of them, a woman confidently answered questions pretending to be her. Same birthday, same ID, same address. But Amina knew that voice instantly. It was Linda. Her sister had pretended to be her without hesitation, without guilt, without fear. She had rehearsed Amina's tone, her words, even her calm manner of speaking. Hearing it felt like a knife twisting in her chest. Then came the final blow. The lawyer found proof that her parents had submitted her ID photocopies, her employment details, and even her tax information to the mortgage office. All without informing her. There were emails with her father's name on them, attaching her documents. There were messages from her mother confirming details about her workplace. They didn't just allow it, they helped make it happen. Amina felt numb as she flipped through the papers, her hand shaking slightly. "My whole family, all of them," she whispered, unable to finish the sentence. Mr. Okoro looked at her with calm certainty. "They used your identity because they knew you were the only one the bank would trust. They wanted a life they couldn't afford, so they built it on your name." Amina swallowed hard, her voice nothing but air. So what happens now? The lawyer leaned forward, his voice firm and steady. Amina, listen to me carefully. Legally, this case is very clear. They committed fraud. But there is another truth you must understand. She lifted her eyes slowly. You're not just a victim, he said. You are the legal owner of that house. Everything they did made it yours. Amina felt her breath catch. She had walked into the office feeling broken, betrayed, and powerless. But now, something shifted deep inside her. Something fierce, something strong. Her family stole her future. But they accidentally handed her the proof she needed to take it back. And for the first time, Amina saw a way out of the darkness. Amina chose a small, quiet restaurant on the edge of Nakuru Hills, the kind of place where nobody would recognize them, where the truth could fall like a bomb without strangers watching. She booked a corner table, dim lights, soft music, the perfect stage for what she was about to do. Her family arrived together, walking in with confident steps. Tobias looked annoyed, Linda looked bored, and her parents walked in as if they were attending a victory celebration. Her father even smiled proudly. I knew you'd come to your senses, he said as he sat down. Family problems should stay in the family. Amina just smiled politely. She didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't show a single hint of the storm inside her. Linda leaned back in her chair. So, are we done with the drama? Tobias added. Good. Because we have furniture to buy for the house. Amina's heart didn't shake this time. She watched them talk like nothing happened, watched them enjoy the drinks they ordered, watched them laugh. They really believed she was here to surrender. After a few minutes, she reached into her bag and pulled out a thick folder. She placed it gently in the center of the table, pushing it toward them. Her father frowned, confused. Tobias raised an eyebrow. Linda sighed loudly. What is this now? Linda asked. Amina folded her hands calmly. Open it. Her father opened the folder first and froze. There were printed emails from the bank, forgery reports, copies of the fake signature, audio transcripts of Linda impersonating Amina, printed screenshots of every message, a letter from the finance lawyer, and on top of it all, a formal transfer of ownership request with the bank's approval. The air shifted. The table went silent. Her mother's hand shook as she flipped a page. Tobias's face turned pale. Linda's mouth fell open. Amina finally spoke, her voice soft but sharp enough to cut the silence. You borrowed money in my name, she whispered. Now the house is mine. Her father slammed his hand on the table. Amina, you can't do this to your own family. She looked at him without blinking. You already did it to me. Linda leaned forward, panic creeping into her voice. Amina, please, we didn't think. No, Amina interrupted. You didn't care. Her mother's eyes filled with tears. You'll destroy us. Amina shook her head slowly. No, you destroyed yourselves when you chose to betray me. She stood up, her voice still calm, still steady, the kind of calm that comes from finally taking back power. I've notified the bank. I've notified the police. You have 14 days to leave my property. Her chair scraped the floor softly as she stepped back. For the first time, she said, looking each of them in the eye, I'm choosing myself. And then Amina walked out of the restaurant, leaving behind the people who thought she would always stay silent, and finally stepping into the life they never believed she was strong enough to claim. The moment Amina left the folder on the table, the atmosphere in the room shifted like a storm rolling in. Tobias's face turned red, his hands clenching the edge of the table. You can't do this. This is insane, he shouted, his voice bouncing off the walls. He jumped to his feet, pacing, slamming his fists down, his anger raw and loud. Linda's voice trembled as she reached toward Amina. Please. Amina, you don't understand. We didn't mean, don't do this. Her words were desperate, pleading, but Amina didn't flinch. She could see it in Linda's eyes. Fear, guilt, and shock all mixed together. Her mother sank into her chair, covering her face with trembling hands, sobbing softly. Amina, my baby, we didn't think you'd react like this. Please forgive us. But her voice was weak, drowned in regret. Her father stood rigid, his pride fighting with panic. "You ungrateful girl. I raised you. How dare you turn against your own family? You think you can just—" His voice broke. Then he tried another tactic, anger mixing with threat. "If you go through with this, I will disown you. You'll have nothing from this family ever again." Amina didn't flinch. She took a slow, calm breath, letting her words land like iron. "I've already contacted the bank and the police," she said quietly. "They are fully aware of what happened. Tobias forged my signature. Linda impersonated me. And both of you knowingly submitted my documents. This is fraud. All of it." The room went deadly quiet. Tobias stopped pacing, Linda's hands dropped to her lap, her mother's sobs slowed, and even her father's voice faltered. Amina's voice rose just enough to be heard clearly. "You have exactly 2 options." She pointed at each of them slowly, letting her words hit every corner of the room. 1. Face fraud charges in court. 2. Vacate my property within 14 days. After that, the law will take over. There is no other choice. Tobias tried to argue, but no words came out. Linda's eyes filled with tears. Her mother looked completely broken. Her father's fists unclenched slowly, and his face paled. For the first time, Amina realized they had no control over her anymore. They had built their dream on her identity, but she held the proof. She was calm, steady, and untouchable. They had underestimated her. They had betrayed her. And now, in the silence of that small room, it became painfully clear to all of them. They had no power left. Amina stood tall, every inch of her body unshaken, feeling the weight of fear and shame settle over the people who had once tried to destroy her life. For the first time she was truly free, and they knew it. Amina walked into the house for the first time as its legal owner. The same house her siblings had secretly bought in her name, the same house that had caused so much pain, now belonged to her. The walls were empty, the floors dusty, and the air carried the faint smell of paint and new beginnings. She took a deep breath, feeling a mix of relief, anger, and cautious excitement. She didn't rush anything. Each day she worked slowly, carefully. She repainted the walls a soft cream, replacing the cold, impersonal colors her siblings had chosen. She added plants in every corner, letting green life creep along shelves and windowsills. She unpacked the few personal items she'd brought and hung photos of her journey, the tears, the fear, the awakening, as reminders of how far she had come. The house transformed slowly, like Amina herself. Rooms that had once felt like cages now became spaces of peace. The living room became a place to think, plan, and dream. The kitchen, once a symbol of the stolen future, now smelled of fresh meals she cooked herself, each dish a small victory. The garden grew under her hands, flowers and vegetables sprouting like little trophies of her resilience. But she didn't stop there. Amina knew her story had power beyond her walls. She started a channel online, sharing her journey openly, the betrayal, the fraud, the family lies, and how she had reclaimed her life. She spoke honestly about financial boundaries, identity theft, and how even the people you trust most could hurt you. Messages poured in from strangers who had faced similar betrayals, from young women afraid of family manipulation, and from anyone struggling to claim their own space in a world that sometimes felt unfair. Her calm, honest storytelling struck a chord. Clips of her speaking went viral, shared thousands of times, inspiring people across Nakuru Hills and beyond. Amina felt a quiet pride growing in her chest. For the first time in months, she wasn't defined by fear. She wasn't a victim. She was an owner, not just of a house but of her life, her voice, and her future. Each morning she woke up in the house, sunlight spilling through the windows. She remembered how close she had come to losing everything. And each evening, as she closed the doors, watered her plants, and edited her videos, she knew something no one could ever take from her: control over her life. The house that had once been a trap became her sanctuary, and Amina, finally free, was ready to build a future no betrayal could ever touch. Months had passed since Amina took full control of the house. Life had slowly begun to feel like her own again. She was calmer, stronger, and more confident than ever. Her channel was growing, her voice reaching people who needed to hear her story. But there was one visit she knew she had to make, a final confrontation with her parents. When she arrived, she saw the changes immediately. Her father, once towering with pride and anger, seemed smaller, weighed down by shame. Her mother, who had dismissed her pain before, looked fragile and quiet, her eyes filled with regret. Tobias and Linda avoided her gaze completely, sitting stiffly in the corner as if trying to disappear. Amina didn't yell. She didn't accuse. She didn't seek revenge. She walked in with calm steps, letting her presence fill the room. The silence was heavy, broken only by her measured breathing. She looked at each of them in turn, her eyes steady, her voice soft but unwavering. "You used my name to build your dream," she said slowly, letting each word sink in. "I could have let it destroy me. I could have let fear and betrayal control my life. But I didn't." She paused, letting the weight of her words hang in the air. "I used your betrayal to build my future." Her father's fists unclenched, Tobias and Linda shifted uncomfortably, and her mother swallowed hard. No one had an answer. Amina didn't need one. She had already taken everything that mattered from the situation: her dignity, her freedom, and her power. She turned toward the door. Each step was steady, confident, final. She felt the air around her change with every footfall, a mix of relief, triumph, and liberation. For the first time, she wasn't looking back. Outside, the sun was warm on her face. She breathed deeply, savoring the feeling. She was free, respected, powerful. The betrayal that had once crushed her now stood as proof of her strength. Amina smiled quietly to herself. Her life, her rules, her future, all hers. She walked forward, leaving behind the shadows of her past, stronger than she had ever been.